On the evening of June 24, 2026, the ground beneath Venezuela moved, twice, in less than a minute. First, our thoughts are with everyone affected. This was a real disaster, and people are still being pulled from the rubble as I record this. But behind this tragedy is a piece of science that even surprised seismologists, because what happened in Venezuela that night is genuinely rare. Two massive earthquakes, 39 seconds apart.
And by the end of this video, you'll understand exactly why the Earth does this, why these two quakes hit back to back, why one was so much more powerful than the other, and why this particular spot on the map was a disaster waiting to happen. So let's start with the basics. What actually is an earthquake? Picture the surface of the Earth. It looks solid, permanent, but it's not. It's broken into enormous slabs of rock called tectonic plates, and they are slowly, constantly moving.
They grind against each other at about the speed your fingernails grow. You'd never feel it, but these plates are rough. They snag, they lock together at the edges, and they get stuck. Meanwhile, the forces pushing them don't stop, so pressure builds and builds for years, for decades, sometimes for centuries, until, finally, the rock can't take it anymore. It snaps. All that stored energy releases at once, racing outward as waves through the ground. That is an earthquake. It's not the Earth breaking, it's the Earth suddenly letting go. So that's the what. Now here's the where and why Venezuela.
Venezuela sits on the edge of two of these giant plates, the Caribbean plate and the South American plate. And they aren't crashing head-on. They're sliding past each other, sideways, in opposite directions. This kind of boundary has a name, a strike-slip fault. And the one running across northern Venezuela is huge. It stretches roughly 1,300 kilometers from the Andes Mountains all the way to the coast. That fault has been quietly building pressure for a very long time. Parts of it hadn't released in over a century. The energy was already there, just waiting. The only question was when. And now, the part that makes this event so unusual. Most of the time, a big earthquake has one main event, the main shock, followed by smaller aftershocks. That's the normal pattern. But Venezuela didn't get that. It got something seismologists call a doublet. Here's what that means. The first quake struck, a magnitude 7.2. On its own, that's a major destructive earthquake. But then, 39 seconds later, a second quake hit nearby, a magnitude 7.5, even bigger than the first. The first quake wasn't the main event. It was a foreshock. It actually helped trigger the larger one beside it, like one section of the fault snapping and yanking the next section past its breaking point. Two ruptures, back to back, in the time it takes to read a paragraph. Now, you might be thinking, 7.2, 7.5, those sound almost the same. They are not. Because the earthquake scale isn't normal counting, it's logarithmic. Every single step up the scale means about 32 times more energy released. So a 7.5 doesn't release a little more energy than a 7.2. It releases nearly 3 times more. And compared to, say, a magnitude 6, the 7.5 released close to 90 times more energy. This is why one earthquake barely cracks the plaster and another one that sounds almost identical on paper flattens entire buildings. And two more details turn this from a big earthquake into a catastrophe.
The first is depth. This quake was shallow, only about 10 kilometers down. And shallow is dangerous. The closer the rupture is to the surface, the less the energy spreads out before it reaches the cities above.
A deep quake softens on the way up. A shallow one hits with full force. The second is what sits on top. The shaking spread into Caracas, a dense capital city packed with people and tall buildings. Seismologists have a grim saying, "Earthquakes don't kill people, buildings do." It's the collapse, not the shaking itself, that takes lives. So why does understanding any of this matter?
Because earthquakes, for now, cannot be predicted, not to the day, not to the hour. We can't stop the plates from moving. But we are not helpless. We know where the dangerous faults are. We can build cities that flex and sway instead of shattering. We can run drills, retrofit old buildings, design early warning systems that send an alert seconds before the shaking arrives. And seconds can be enough time to take cover. The Earth has been doing this for billions of years. These plates will keep moving long after all of us are gone. We can't change that.
What we can change is how ready we are when the ground decides, once again, to let go. For the people of Venezuela tonight, that readiness came too late for far too many. The least the rest of us can do is understand it and be better prepared when our turn comes. Because somewhere out there, another fault is locked and quietly waiting.